You're not disrespecting your mother. You're not looking down on your mother. She served her purpose already. You're a full functioning adult now. And now it's time for the divine to be the one to lead you and assist you through your journey going forward. There's nothing wrong with that. Hello, my loves. Welcome back. I've already set the mood and lit the incense. I really needed a mocktail, and I only have a small ingredients that I could use to make one today, but I just needed to have one, and it's so good. Something about making mocktails for me now, so satisfying. Letting go of drinking alcohol. It's not like I need to be sober. It's more so I want to feel good. I want to feel uplifted. I want to enjoy things without feeling guilt or knowing that I'm poisoning my body in any type of way. But that's not to say that if I get invited to an event that I won't have some champagne or some wine or something like that. But for the most part, in terms of winding down, having that grown and sexy vibe going on, I did buy all the materials to make mocktails. So now I'm kind of settled at home and everything is pretty much put away and I can kind of relax a little bit. I'm able to go ahead and make my mocktails again. So hopefully we will see more mocktails in our conversations and maybe I can give you some ideas on what to make at home. This particular one has cranberry, pineapple, and apple juice. I sprinkled a little bit of cinnamon, and if you like for a little sweetener, you can add some agave. I love adding cranberry juice in any mocktail that I drink because it gives that bitter taste and it kind of tricks you into thinking that you're drinking alcohol, but really you're not. It's like super healthy, but it gives you that kick that you might be looking for. We're back from last week's discussion on our mother wounds, and today we're going to come up with some solutions and go a little bit deeper into some other things that we should be taking a look at when it comes to this topic. Hopefully you all were able to complete those reflection questions, or if you just wanted to think about it in the moment and then meditate on it later, that's fine too. But let's go ahead and jump into our discussion. If you're new here, welcome. I'm LuminousRah, and if you're returning, welcome back. I love to see you. Thank you so much for being a part of the community and helping me grow and supporting any and every which way you can. You are not your mother's story. You may came through her, but you were never meant to become her. Or maybe the strongest thing you'll ever do is stop trying to fix the woman who broke you and learn how to love yourself with love instead of guilt. Or maybe healing your mother wound isn't about blaming her. It's about finding the version of you that existed before the pain and letting her finally feel safe. And today we're going to discuss cleansing your mother's energy, rebuilding your boundaries, and stepping into your own feminine power with peace. You know what? I'm starting to feel so sleepy, and I thought it was the mocktail for a second. I just remembered I had some lavender and chamomile tea before I started this. So if I look drowsy, I have no idea how I look. But if I'm giving drowsy, I deeply apologize. I am so sorry. It just hit me. I'm going to do my best to keep my energy on par, okay? Bear with me, baby. Bear with me. Awareness is powerful, but awareness without repair still leaves wounds open. The mother wound teaches us survival. Healing teaches us softness. Real femininity isn't performing calm. It's feeling safe enough to be calm. So let's walk through 5 ways to actually heal this wound and reclaim the woman you're meant to be. Let me know if I'm the only one. Have you ever noticed that your mother is usually or always trying to give you something? Whether it's her clothes or accessories, maybe bags, maybe shoes, but she's always trying to give you some items of hers that she thinks is going to look good on you or going to fit well on you. Have you ever noticed that? Well, energy is transferred through stories, objects, and even clothes. If you literally been wearing your mother's wardrobe or carrying her emotional weight, you're symbolically living her life. I've had epiphanies in my life where I felt that I was living her story, especially when it came to relationships. I would feel this eerie feeling, and some of my relationships kind of mirrored her steps and footprints in this world. But it took me some time to realize even her clothing was carrying her energy. Whatever intent she was carrying when she was trying to give me this clothing was also carrying this energy. And oftentimes when she gave me clothes, after a while I was taking them, but I didn't want the clothes. I wasn't going to wear the clothes. My style was completely moving away from hers. And that's when I started to realize she was trying to make me a mini version of her. Even though I'm a grown woman, clearly I have my own style. She never really agreed with me discovering my my own fashion sense and my own style. If it didn't look like her, she didn't like it, and there was no compliment given. In protecting her emotions and accept these items or pieces of clothing, I was saying something to myself as well. I was telling myself to step aside and put her emotions ahead of how I feel. So I began to decline these offers, and I noticed that no matter how many years, it literally took years, I declined her clothing, she would still try to give me clothing. I will often tell her, just give it to the Goodwill or give it to someone else or sell it. You don't have to give it to me. I don't want it. I told you. My style isn't your style. I'm growing out of your style. So I repeatedly had to put my foot down on the same boundary. And oftentimes, especially if you have a sweet mother, let's say you have to put your foot down, but you have a really sweet mother and you may feel guilty putting your foot down with your mother. At the same time, it's very imperative that you do. And oftentimes I had to remind myself that no matter if it hurt her feelings or not, she was the one making the situation awkward by putting me in the position to say no. So I also had to make that very clear as well. I no longer want any of your items. I don't care what the items are. I don't want it. I don't need it. It's not my style. It's not my image. Nothing against you. I just don't want the clothing. I wouldn't think about the fact that she's very in tune with spirituality. She's very in tune with energetic practices. So I have no idea what intention she was putting on this clothing. But my thing was, I don't want your clothes stacking up in my closet and I'm not going to wear it, and I know I'm not going to wear it. But now I'm starting to realize, as I clean out my closet and I get rid of my items and I clear my items out of my home, I realize those items absolutely had her energy on it. I found myself doing a sweep through my home to get rid of any items that she's ever given, ever bought, so that the energy isn't lingering in my home. It may sound harsh or it may not seem like a big deal, but if you think about it, her imprint, even this small imprint, is overshadowing who you are growing to be. You need room to blossom. And a lot of times when we move out of our own clothes, when we move out of our old style, we have to clean our closet before we start getting new clothes. And you notice if you don't do that, if you go the opposite way, you start buying new items and then you fill up your closet and then you get rid of the clothes, you realize that that doesn't even make any sense. And 9 times out of 10, you won't even clean out your closet. You'll just realize that you need more hangers and you need more space, right? But if you clean your closet out, if you get rid of things, and you're able to see and organize your new wardrobe much better. Same thing with your mother's energy. Her energy is suffocating who you're trying to discover and evolving into this new person. From a therapy perspective, this is enmeshment. It's unclear energetic boundaries. You unconsciously take on her unhealed fears, scarcity, mistrust, or resentment. Begin by releasing physical reminders that keep you in her identity. Create a ritual. Donate, sage, pray, or write a goodbye letter to the version of you that needed her approval. You're not rejecting her. You're releasing what no longer fits. Because I've been in this situation, I'm aware that you may get frustrated. It's incredibly frustrating repeating yourself over and over to anyone. Really doesn't matter who it is. But it's extremely frustrating to repeat yourself to your mother, because that's the one person that you wish actually took the time to get to know you a little better, understand you a little bit more. Please keep in mind that this is supposed to be a healing process. And even if you're upset as you navigate these waters, that's okay too. You're going to have to gradually learn how to move through your emotions until you get to a place where you are at peace truly. Fighting it all the time isn't going to work, but keeping in mind and keeping the intention to try to be at peace as much as you can is going to help you solidify these boundaries, step into your power, but also leave in grace. So if you ever need a reminder, just breathe in deep through your nostrils, hold, and then exhale. You don't have to force her to understand. It's not even about her understanding. And you don't have to repeat yourself multiple times. You can just sit there in silence until she realizes that you're serious, because she's so used to stepping over your boundaries. She will continue to step over your boundaries if you fight for her to understand. So sometimes it just takes one statement and then a soft stare until she gets it. But I do want to acknowledge that, and I want to prepare you, because there will be moments where anger will catch you off guard, and later on you can reflect on it. And speaking of reflection, we have some reflection questions to go through. What am I still carrying that belongs to her story, not mine? What would it look like to dress and move like the woman that I'm becoming? Most of us mistake intensity for love because we never knew calm connection. In trauma therapy, that's nervous system conditioning. Your body is wired for adrenaline, not ease. Healing is teaching your body that peace is safe. Slow mornings, deep breathing, journaling before reacting. And no, I'm not telling you to whip out a journal before you curse somebody out, but just learning to take the breath that you need, excuse yourself if need be, and being sure that you journal about it and get all of your emotions out on paper. Allow help without guilt. Let people show up for you. You're reparenting the part of yourself that's always on alert. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a time that I was pretty frustrated with my mother, and she was just trying to help. But you can say that she was pretty abrasive with how she relayed the messages that she was relaying to me. It was a day that I was moving into this apartment, actually, a long time ago. I was looking for new furniture. I'd sold all my furniture, and I wanted to have like this new style. I wanted to do this rebrand. The furniture that I had been a hand-me-down, so I really wanted to put my own touch on my furniture in my home and make my home mine. And I knew I was going to be in this place for a while because it was in a really good school district for my son. I didn't want to move him around, so I really wanted to invest in something nice. And I remember as I was looking at all of the couches, the sofas, the love seats, the comforter, everything, she was always telling me, no, you don't need that because you have a small child. No, you can't do that because I know how you are. No, you shouldn't get that. As we narrowed everything down, I ended up getting a set that I didn't really want. And I spent my money, thousands of dollars, on something that I was stuck looking at for multiple years that I didn't want. And I often put it in the back of my mind. I didn't really want to think about it. I didn't want to get angry every time I looked at my set, but it didn't make me feel good in my home. It didn't make me feel 100% comfortable. It was just blah. It was a situation where I was just indifferent about my space and about my home. And when you spend a majority of time at your home and you want to unwind at home, it kind of makes you feel away. And it also helps me reflect on a time where I was dating an ex a long time ago, and he mentioned that he was frustrated with dealing with young women that weighed heavily on their parents' input. At that time, I didn't understand what he meant. I was like, I'm so grown, I'm taking care of my business, I don't know what you're talking about. But as I reflect on this part, I realized what he was saying. When your parents have too much input in what you do, they don't know boundaries. They don't know how to allow you to be yourself and figure things out on your own. They don't know how to gently guide you. They don't respect you as an adult. That does something to you in adulthood. It'll create situations where you either minimize or you get frustrated and you get an attitude. Maybe you get into a disagreement with them. Maybe things blow up and all of a sudden the cycle starts all over again. This process is going to help you eliminate that cycle. It's going to help you stand strong in your boundaries while also being able to keep the peace within yourself. You don't want to regret something for so long because you want to keep the peace and you just go with whatever they say. Sometimes I don't even know why I let her come with me. The saddest part of that story was the fact that I invited her because she had a really good eye in decorating and I trusted her eye. She didn't allow me to put my own imprint on my own home. And that's where I realized maybe I shouldn't have brought her. I feel like as a parent, as an adult, you should already have that mindset when you are assisting your child in doing something, especially if you've watched them handle everything on their own. You know that they handle their business, they're going to figure everything out. So, you don't have to put so much input into what they're doing. That's how it went down anyway. And I will say that when I moved out of this place and I moved in with my ex and I was able to pick everything out, it helped me see that I'm capable of designing my own space. I'm able to work with a space and know exactly how I want to put it together and figure out the shades of curtains and what certain furniture is going to do to the room and how lighting comes into play and how colors come into play. So I am happy that I did get that chance to design a space. So I'm confident, next time when I move again, I'll be able to design my space and I'll finally have a space where it's all my input. No one else's imprint is on there at all whatsoever, because I think that's really important when it comes to discovering who you are and seeing and honoring yourself. In our reflection, when do I feel most present and relaxed in my body? How can I create small pockets of safety each day? Sometimes a mother's fear disguises itself as wisdom. They might say, don't trust people, always have a backup plan, don't need anyone. Those were her trauma responses, not divine guidance. And I'd say in therapy terms, this would probably be internalized parent. Her voice becomes your inner critic. Apologies if you all can hear the rain on the windows. It sounds like it just stopped, but every time it rains, we have a good discussion, don't we? With this one, I won't say it's a bad thing to have a backup plan and not always be naive and trust everyone. And fear, when it's fear-mongering, it lowers your vibration. And remember, we have the emotional scale. So being in a certain vibration, when you manifest there, it'll bring in more of that experience. So you want to be aware, you want to be diligent in how you move and operate in life, but you don't want to be in fear-based, or you don't want to operate in PTSD where you hear your mother's voice in the back of your head, where everything that you do, you hear her or you see her. You want to be able to lean on your own internal guidance. You want to be able to trust yourself. You want to know that you can show up for yourself and make the right decisions, because that will then in turn strengthen your inner ability and your inner knowing that you will and can show up, and that strengthens your intuition as well. The conversation of giving our power away has often been discussed in every avenue and in every area of our life, for instance, work, relationship, friendships, but oftentimes it starts with our mother or whoever our caregiver was. We are giving our power away by relinquishing any type of solidified identity that we may have, because we always lean on their knowledge and their wisdom and always being spoon-fed information. Once you step out of their knowledge and their wisdom and you start living for yourself, it'll be easier to develop discernment. So instead of judging books by its cover, you'll be able to feel the internal energy or be able to trust your intuition when it's navigating you in certain directions, because you know what that feeling means. You know what that energetic nudge is, because you've lived and you experienced it for yourself. And it's great to have a mother to call on. It's not to say that they're not useful. It's not to say to never call on them ever again. It's just leaning less on them and leaning more into self. So practice discernment. Write down the harsh thoughts that come up and ask, is this truth or inherited fear? Then replace it with something compassionate, the way God would actually speak to his daughter. When I originally began my healing journey, there were some things that I had to do and conduct before I could really dive into my healing journey. And those things were revolving around my mother. And one of those things showed me how her negative voice was the voice of critique that I was having on myself when it came to how I was showing up as a mother myself. So before I could point out whether she was jealous or she was trying to sabotage me or she was trying to look like a better mother than me, before I could dissect any of that, I had to first see that the negative thoughts I held for myself were actually not my thoughts. They were programmed into me. And it didn't matter how much I stood tall and I took up for myself and I cursed people out if they ever tried to say I was something that I knew I was not, because it was repetitive, because it had been going on so long in my life, it did seep into my subconscious. I had to dig that up and get rid of it before I could implement anything good. So I had to remove all of her claws. I had to remove all of the toxic roots that were in my mind about myself that she planted there, even if it wasn't intentional for her to do it, because I then had to replace my trust with her into the divine. The divine became my guiding source. The divine became the thing that I looked to and asked for help. The divine was the one that I stepped to in times of need. The divine was the one that I cried to. The divine was the one that I spoke to. The divine was the one that I was led to, instead of calling my mother, instead of leaning on my mother, instead of giving her that power to have some sort of control over me. The divine first relinquished me from her control, but it was my doing. I had to walk the path. I had to walk that walk, and I had to talk that talk, and I had to show up, and I had to lay those boundaries, healthier boundaries. And in that, I saw how her reaction was. And I'll be honest, at first, it wasn't pretty. And I didn't expect to get any of the reactions that I was getting. And I don't know how, because she's already showed her true colors many times. A lot of us already know our mother, but as we heal and we take a lot of this stuff away, we don't realize how they'll be triggered because we don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal that I'm declining clothes. I don't think it's it's a big deal that I'm not leaning on you anymore. But they will have a very visceral reaction or abrasive reaction, or depending on your mother, she might give you silent treatment. There might be an emotional manipulation happening. So those are the things that when they happen, you'll know where your wounds are because you'll feel the sharp sting when they start to pull the strings of emotional manipulation. And that's when you have to take a breath and you have to understand that you're not disrespecting your mother. You're not looking down on your mother. She served her purpose already. You're a full functioning adult now. And now it's time for the divine to be the one to lead you and assist you through your journey going forward. There's nothing wrong with that. First reflection question: whose voice plays the loudest when I doubt myself? How can I make more room for intuition instead of fear? You're allowed to love your mother and still have boundaries. Emotional maturity means realizing love isn't measured by sacrifice. In family systems therapy, this is differentiation, the ability to stay connected without losing self. When you stop parenting your parent, you give both of you a chance to evolve. You can choose empathy without enmeshment. You can say no without being cruel. Only you know your relationship with your mother, and only you know your mother. For me, I went through this step and it still didn't work with the mother that I have. That doesn't mean that it won't work with the mother that you have. We are so hell-bent on just getting out of the energy that we're in that we just want to shove everyone to the side and cut everybody off and just not deal with anybody, not be questioned, not go through any type of combativeness or back and forth because we've gone through it so many times. But I want you to remember that this is a journey. This is something that you have to travel through. So even though this is something that didn't work for me, I still did it and tried it without even knowing the terminology. I naturally went through the process of evolving, meditating, becoming more calm and understanding, compassionate, and I tried everything. And when I realized that nothing worked, the calmer, the softer, I've always been genuine, but the way I was showing up genuine with more compassion. It was viewed as a weakness. It was viewed as I can get away with doing this to her or doing that to her and she won't trip, and now I don't have to worry about her mouth. It turned into a situation where instead of honoring this olive branch that I was giving, it was taking advantage of the olive branch that I was giving. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to have you thinking that this may happen to you. I'm just letting you know that if this does happen, still give it some time. Maybe you still need to adjust. Maybe there's still some energy that you have to work out of. And maybe there's a way that you can communicate in different ways. And there's still more to learn and experience on this journey. So it doesn't always benefit you to try to cut someone off immediately unless the divine is telling you to do so. It's interesting because typically when the divine is telling us to cut somebody off, that's when we hold on the most. But the second that we're trying to get rid of somebody immediately and we don't wait for the divine to tell us nothing, that's when it's kind of like, okay, hold on, girl. Hold on, baby girl. You're moving a little bit too fast, right? So definitely meditate on that. But while you do that, let's go ahead and jump into our reflection. Where do I still feel responsible for her emotions? What would healthy compassion look like instead of guilt? Forgiveness isn't a reunion. It's a release. It's choosing to let go of the hope for a different past. Clinically, forgiveness reduces stress hormones and restores emotional regulation. Spiritually, it unblocks the heart. You can pray for her healing and still limit contact. Boundaries are not punishments. They're peacemakers. When you forgive, you're not saying what happened was okay. You're saying it no longer owns me. You know, my whole life, people have told me to forgive. Forgive this person for that. Forgive that person for that. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. What a load of baloney, I would think. And oftentimes I will hold on to so much rage, anger, resentment, you name it. I would not release people from it. I wouldn't. It took a long time for me to go through this healing process to truly start forgiving people. And some people that did lesser harms or lesser crimes, I was able to forgive them and move on and not care about them at all. And I also realized that in forgiving some people, you also forget them, literally. And oftentimes people say, I forgive, but I won't forget. No, you will start forgetting. Recently, I thought that there was something wrong with me because I would literally be in the same room with someone or someone would get my attention from my past. And some of these people, they didn't do anything to me, but people from my past where I experienced all of the things that I've transformed and elevated through, I did not remember them for the life of me. I couldn't remember their name. I didn't recognize their face. I was just sitting there looking like a deer in headlights, staring at them like, who is this person? Genuinely not knowing. It took a while for it to click to me because I completely forgot about this person. I'd healed through a phase. I felt like I had like early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, okay? I didn't know what was going on with me, but it was shared with me. No, that is a sign of healing through all of the things that you went through and real forgiveness. Eventually it did click, but even looking at these people, they don't look the same to me. And while they don't look the same physically, you know how you can still recognize people. They don't look the same at all. And my heart didn't feel any malice. I didn't feel any irritation. I felt a little confusion because why are you talking to me when you know you did me foul? Why are you moving weird, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? It's more of, I wouldn't do that. So that was kind of weird. But it may also be the divine showing me something about this person or showing me something about myself. So I also have to take that within and acknowledge it too, right? And one person that knows this very well about me is my father. My father knows I am a grudgeful person. The way I will grudge on a person is so crazy. It's unserious actually, because you can die, I'll still hate your guts. You can die and be reborn, I will still hate your guts. I will not let you from the clenches of my grudge. And I even had a dream a while ago about someone that I really could not stand this person. This person passed away. Later on, years later, their spirit came to me in a dream. The way that they were looking in this dream, they couldn't even look me in my face. They were trying to get away from me, but I can intuitively feel through the dream that they wanted forgiveness, and I refused to give it to them. Actually, I ran them down in a dream and it was on sight. I was so vicious in my dreams. Oh my goodness. I'm a warrior in my dreams. I don't play. Years later, after that dream, I thought to myself, like, you know what? I think I'm finally ready to forgive that person in death. I think I'm finally ready to release their soul. I don't know how true it is, but I could kind of feel it with this individual that they needed my forgiveness to do whatever it was next that they needed to do. But baby, when I tell you, it took me years to give them my forgiveness. And it wasn't necessarily to give it to them. It was really to release me from the resentment, because I was holding on to it in my heart space. I was holding on to it in my body. I could feel it. And when I release it, I set myself free as well. It's a situation where you just got to open up and let it go. And this is coming from a person that did not open up and let it go. You couldn't pay me to open up and let nothing go, especially if you did something crazy to me. But even now, I have learned how to quickly forgive people, quickly get over it, quickly forget about it. I've already learned everything that I've learned, and I know that it's not going to happen to me again because I've learned what I've learned. A lot of times we have that anger and that resentment because we're so used to the cycle repeating itself, but as we heal and we grow out of those cycles, they will not repeat themselves. You may come around these energies sometimes, they may pass you by, but you will be able to spot them like a sore thumb, baby. It's not going to be blindsided. You're going to be full-fledged aware. You're going to know exactly what to do, and then at that point it's going to be up to you if you want to move through this cycle with them or not. It's not going to be something that is tossing you into a tornado storm and you're just losing it, right? You'll be okay. And that's when a lot of apprehension dissipates. That's when a lot of fear dissipates, because you'll finally start to see the patterns in the cycle. Now, when it comes to praying for your mother, you can pray for her, and I'll let you know right now, especially if you're really powerful and intentional and you believe in yourself and you are able to will things into reality, you'll notice that your prayer will work. If you know how to remotely cut cords, even off of other people for other people. And this is another gift. This is on my Patreon. Actually, I shared it a while ago. I should pin it. But if you're able to do that, you will see a difference in them. But it's up to them to keep up their spiritual hygiene. It's up to them to move through the process of getting through these obstacles and these cycles and evolving into the person that they need to be in order to meet you where you are. So sometimes you may hurt yourself because you're not really fully ready to discern. You don't have the full capacity of the tool of discernment in order to notice what's temporary and what's long lasting. But either way it goes, this is still an experience, and you should still experience your experience, right? So just keep that in mind, that your prayer can and will work, but it's up to them to keep up their own work as well. And it's really interesting because as you move through this cycle, you'll start to realize that you become a gentle parent for your parent. Very interesting how that starts to transpire. You allow them to live their life and to figure it out on their own, and then you also have the boundaries to know, okay, I'm gonna set back and I'm not at full capacity to deal with this individual right now, so I'm gonna remove myself. And that's really what boundaries are about. You don't want to do or say something that you'll later regret, that you can't come back from. One of the heaviest things that you could have on your heart is regret. A lot of times, because this woman still gave birth to you, she still brought you into this world, she still sacrificed, she still did her best. Even if her best is your worst, she still did her best. And you don't ever want to step past this line where you regret how you treated this woman. Do you see what I'm saying? It's true. That's the only mother you're gonna get, right? And oftentimes I used to test myself and imagine that she died. I would play this thought or this theatric daydream that she passed away, and I would always cry so bad. I wasn't in agreement with how I was dealing with her because I was so angry or frustrated, or I couldn't control my own emotions, and I was all over the place. But once I began to heal and slowly but surely started to replay that, I realized that I was all cried out because I tried everything. I tried everything on my end, and I just wasn't being met at the same capacity. I wasn't being met halfway. I wasn't being met a quarter of the way. Once I realized that, I was like, okay, I've done all that I can do, and now I just have to release. That's all that I can do. And I'm at peace with that. So once you find peace within that, that within itself is healing your divine femininity all over in a whole new light. Just keep in mind, the forgiveness and the boundaries, it's not about them at all. It's about you and how you navigate these spaces and how you move through life. And this is another reason why you don't want to avoid other relationships with other people, because as you navigate these waters, you'll start to see life in a different perspective. For instance, for me, with my ex, even though we didn't make it to the altar, right? We were engaged. So seriously thinking about marriage brought up a lot for me. I didn't realize that I don't want to pay 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 grand for a wedding to have a whole bunch of people sit around me that God was showing me weren't in my best and highest good, for my blessings. They weren't happy for me moving on and growing up and evolving and reaching this partnership. And I didn't want to stress myself out with sitting around people that didn't pour into me the way I needed. There's one thing where people think they're helping, but they could be drowning your lawn. They can be drowning your flowers, or other people can be cutting off your bushes thinking that they're assisting, but they don't even know that those aren't the type of bushes that you cut in this season. You know, a lot of people are doing more damage than good. And I wouldn't have been able to see that had I not had this mock marriage. That's kind of how I felt that situation was. And it brought a lot of stuff to light. Even when it came to my mother, it showed how overbearing she was, how she wasn't willing to respect my wishes, how she wasn't willing to stay in her place. So those things showed me, oh, when I get the partner that I'm really serious about, I already know how I'm going to go about this situation. I already know the language that I'm going to use if they ask me about my family and my parents and everything that's going on and who do I want there and who do I already know what I'm going to say because I've already had like a practice run. And that's why I am so grateful for every experience that I've experienced thus far, because it's taught me so much and it's revealed so much about not only me, but the people that I had around me. So now I can move better in the future with least resistance, and I won't feel like I'm making any type of mistakes or embarrassed or anything. Like I just know exactly how I'm going to handle these situations. And for our reflections, what boundary protects my peace right now? How can I honor her humanity without abandoning my own healing? I hope sharing this with you helps you understand God never wastes pain. He repurposes it. You were chosen to stop the cycle, not to carry it. Healing the mother wound is really about learning to mother yourself with gentleness, with boundaries, and with love that doesn't come with conditions. You're not becoming your mother, you're becoming free. And the next time someone asks you where your softness comes from, it's the peace I had to teach myself to feel. I'm happy we were able to do this continuation from last week's conversation. I hope you got everything that you needed out of it. If there's any questions, definitely leave me a comment down below. Any comments or concerns or anything that you want me to talk about or add to the conversation, I would love to hear it. You already know what time it is. That's my time. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy and your space with me, letting me into your home, and I will see you soon, okay? Peace, love, and a little bit of spice. Mwah.